supposed to like him right now, but I don't.
No, she really likes me. What's up?
Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Andy. And today we're going to talk about stuff.
Dating.
Dating. Okay, dating. First of all, let this be clear. Neither of us are currently dating.
Thank God.
Someone else. Just
Thank
each
God.
other, kind of.
That's not even true.
Now, the first thing we need to start with, and we talked about this before, is like the first thing we need to talk about is how grateful we are that we don't have to date in the current
Yes.
environment right now of social media, just culture.
So for all y'all that have to do that, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So sorry.
And there's probably some of you watching this, you're like, yeah, no, dating's great, it's amazing.
Good for you. Good for you.
That's
We're
great.
praying for you.
I'm glad it's working out for you. I'm just saying I'm glad I don't have to do it.
Yes, amen.
So some of you were hoping that we would talk about a little bit of our dating experience. So we had discussed some of the things that we're going to talk about that we think we did right, and some things that we could go back and if we were able to go back, we'd choose to do differently. So why don't you kick it off, because you have more to say about this than I do.
Okay, so yesterday we were talking about what this is, like how he viewed our experience versus the way I view our experience growing up together, because we really did.
Yeah.
We were early 20s when we started dating, and we were long distance. He was in LA, I was down here in San Diego, and we basically lived a honeymoon lifestyle for most of our dating relationship, because it was long distance, all of it.
All of it, really. Because we only saw each other on the weekends, and that would be like literally a Friday night after work. One of us would drive to the other person's location, and then we'd spend Saturday all day together, and then Sunday, and then at some point during Sunday afternoon or evening, we'd head back to wherever we lived, or me to LA and Jenn to San Diego. So we literally just saw each other during like the no work, no errands, no bill paying, no like adult responsibility parts of the week.
Yeah, no real life stuff.
But we didn't recognize it at the time.
Yeah.
We weren't like aware that, we're just living the best part of the week together.
Right. Where we looked forward to hanging out with each other then, and it was fun because it just kind of gave us a sense of getting to know the silly about each other, but we didn't know that once we got married, we really didn't know the other side of each other.
The real part of the week.
Yeah.
Going through the week stuff.
So anyways, we dated. The things that we did do, we had a lot of fun. The things that we, at 41 and 40, I was telling Andy yesterday, I look back, and if I could go back to that 23-year-old Jen and say, hey, you need to go to counseling, premarital counseling. You need to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with solid women who are going to speak wisdom into your life, solid men who are going to speak wisdom into his life, and who will guide you purposefully through figuring out who you are supposed to be as a wife and who he is supposed to be as a husband, and what that actually looks like versus what we thought.
Yeah, so I think part of it is that there's a lot of like structure of a marital relationship that we had only our own understanding of, without it being necessarily like a common understanding. Now, we had a lot of the same beliefs, and we had agreed on a lot of things, and we had a lot of honest and authentic conversations that were genuine about ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that we did right in our relationship, is that like Jenn was Jenn the whole time, and I was me. I wasn't pretending to be anybody else. She wasn't pretending to be someone she wasn't. And I think that's one of the things that like is most important in a relationship that's developing before you get married, is you need to be you, because the person you're marrying is expecting you to be you. They really are, and they're not expecting some false person. All of a sudden you show up and you're worse than what you'd presented to be. So I think that's something we did right. However, on the premarital counseling part, I think it would have been beneficial for us to have some of the conversations that we ended up having by default, because we had to respond to situations rather than being proactive about them and say, hey, when this situation comes up, how are we going to handle it? And because we didn't do that, I think it was more difficult. It's hard to compare, but I'm assuming, I think, for the positive, that it would have been more difficult, or it would have been easier had we already pre-decided and pre-discussed some of those things.
Right, and looking back at our first year of marriage, I know for me, I was not a happy camper because I went into something with a certain idea of who Andy was prior to marriage, and then we got married. I moved up to LA, joined his world and his friendships and everything that he already had going for him, and I had to start new. But not only did I have to start new, I had to find out things about him, like what is he like when he's angry. I think I'd only seen that one time in our dating experience, but I had never experienced Andy angry in any other situation. So we got married and something set him off, and I found out a whole new person existed in him that I now had to figure out, am I okay with this? Am I not okay with this?
Well, and it's a microcosm of how our week looked different than our weekend.
Right.
And so having only spent the weekend time together, during the week when there's work and there's stress and there's social stuff, like you literally had a new job in a new place with a bunch of new people, and I had my same place, my same job, my same people. Like everything was in contrast, and that caused some friction and some stress. But also, we had not experienced a situation up until that point that really angered me either, and so it was
literally
my
until
response,
our wedding day, y'all.
My response was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like seriously, right now this is happening, and like it was just the last straw. But all that to say is that the first year was difficult because we were responding to things that we should have known were going to happen in our relationship. We hadn't prepared, and then also we were living the Monday through Friday work, the Monday through Friday life, doing all that hard work that we had never done. So we'd never been in the same place doing those same things. And so now let's be clear, we're not saying, oh, you got to move in together and like figure your life out together. Like you can't. I mean, if you're going to kick the tires that hard and you're going to move in together, you might as well be getting married anyways, because that's basically what you're doing. However, what I am saying is it'd be beneficial if we were in the same place and we had some sort of shared duties and responsibilities on our way towards marriage, where it's like, hey, we got to go do this together, or we should be taking care of these things and these responsibilities, and we just hadn't. It was, she did her thing, I did my thing, we got married, and it was like, oh, wait a minute, now we have to do this, and we haven't had any practice in doing that.
Right, and I think another thing that we had discussed that would have been beneficial to us moving forward in our marriage, we unpacked a lot of things. Like, when we were talking about dating, before I met Andy in a dating aspect, he mentioned in the last episode that we met in high school, but we didn't date.
Right.
But what was really helpful to an extent, but I don't think we fully unpacked it enough, was that my dating experiences were pretty unhealthy. I didn't understand what it meant to actually have a healthy dating relationship. And so I went through my growing up years with men and was very, irresponsible. But on the other side of it, I just didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. And so that when I met Andy and we started dating, and I thought, no, I want this to be different. I want this to be healthy, but I still didn't realize how much I needed to grow, change, purge, in the process of getting to like where he and I were going to be on a good, healthy path. I unloaded a lot of things that had happened in my life, either to me or that I allowed. But so he was aware of those things, but we didn't really tackle the emotional trauma from some of those things. So that now we're married, and it's taken us 16 years to get to this, literally 16 years to get to this point where this year God has been saying, hey, Jen, you're still holding on to this from this past relationship. You're still doing this because you aren't sure that you can really allow Andy to be who he's called to be for me, because you just don't trust men. So I know a lot of women, I'm speaking just for the sake of women, like I've had small group after small group after small group and have heard so many different testimonies from women who've said, I had so many damaging relationships, again, whether by their own choice or by abuses that have happened that were forced on them or whatever, that were never dealt with. And that brought baggage into the marriage that either made them end up in divorce with their marriage because they just couldn't bring themselves to that place of healing, or were just too scared to, or it dragged their marriage down quite a bit because they weren't willing to see or put the work in through therapy, through whatever type of counseling and effort together.
It's like bringing trash into a brand new place.
Right.
You're like, hey, I'm here, and I brought all this trash with me. So let's take this new thing that hasn't been messed up yet, and let's put trash in it.
Right.
But we both had done that.
Right.
Just with different sets of things, and I think for me it was I had trusted too many people too early on and for too long, and I was naive, and so being naive hurt me in a lot of ways in previous relationships because I did not see things for what they were. I saw things for what I aspired for them to be, even though the truth wasn't that way. And that really, that was different in our relationship because I saw it for what it was, not what I was aspiring to be. But I think that like hope always ended up hurting me. And so I always ended up at the end of relationships hurt. And that was, that caused trust problems. And I don't think I was ever eager to run away. I know I was never eager to run away, but I had that unresolved, like, people had hurt me and I hadn't always forgiven all of them for that. And that wasn't her fault at all. And but it was just something I walked that trash like into our front door of our brand new marriage, and I was like, oh, I've still got all this past hurt because I have resentment and I haven't like forgiven people. And again, part of that I think was my age. The other thing I know is immaturity, and also again lack of guidance. So if we had done some sort of working together in a counseling with somebody to guide us through some of these steps, we could have maybe addressed some of the things you're talking about, and I could have addressed some of the things that I'm discussing now, and could have either put them into motion or maybe even squashed them all together, and maybe could have avoided the rough start that we had. So, but this has really turned more into the first year of our marriage, not about dating, but
no. But I think a lot of it has
to
do.
What we're saying is what people should be doing if they're dating, or what we would do if we were dating now. These are the things we would do coming from a mature place versus an immature spot when we did. Right.
Yeah. I mean, because dating really does trigger a lot of the things that you end up having to deal with in marriage. Yeah. Like if you're in...
Unless you deal with them, they're still with you.
Right. And really that even goes if you're not married. Like if you're dating and then you go to the next relationship, to the next relationship, to the next relationship, which I had done. I can't hide from that. That was my past. And it did a lot of damage. So as there's such a, oh, whatever, it's just dating. Oh, whatever, it's just sex. Oh, whatever, that is a load of bull. And I know that because I lived that lie. And what society paints as okay because we're free to do whatever we want. We don't have to commit to yada, yada, yada. You go ahead and believe that all you want. But really, when it comes down to it, the damage that you have to unpack and heal through after the fact, it kind of goes hand in hand. Not even kind of, but you look at what dating is and how you go from one to the next. A lot of us do. That carries everything, and I mean everything, into your marriage, if not dealt with.
I think what you're saying is. Or what I am putting into words is like you are free to do as you want and you can, but it comes at a price. And so just like it does if you stay in a relationship that's abusive, there's a consequence to that, and there's an emotional consequence to that beyond there potentially being a physical one. And then if you move from relationship to relationship really quickly, and you go too far in each of those relationships, then there's a consequence in that too.
Right.
So it's not like just one's better than the other. It's the fact that the choices that I make before my marriage are going to affect my marriage unless I deal with them.
Yeah.
And the choices that you make before you get married are going to affect what you are going to deal with. And you also have the choice not to deal with it at all. Mm-hmm. And there's a problem with that. So this is really a conversation about decisions and consequences to a degree, if I was to sum it up. In that undealt consequences on both our sides, even though they have different beginnings and they materialize in different ways, undealt with, they were problematic in our marriage.
Very much so. Like really, truly, very much so. It was to the point where most of our marriage has been spent trying to unpack crap.
Working through it all.
Yeah. And so as we're now at a stage in our marriage where we're looking at, we have a 14-year-old daughter who's being pursued by boys now, and she's, Mom, I don't want any of this, and whatever. It's the conversations we're now having are like things that I have learned over the years in our marriage now, where I look at what dating should have been in the sense of like, get to know people for who they are and who they aren't. Decide what you want and what you don't want. Don't jump into it so far physically that you've lost any sort of relational side where it comes to who the heart of the person is or the mind of the person. Are you on the same page when it comes to your faith? Are you on the same page when it comes to how many kids you want? Those types of things, you need to get to know people as though they're your best friend. Yeah. Not someone you just jump into bed with, because that's what we do now. And I know that might sound like, oh, we're hitting on that. Yeah, we are hitting on that. Because...
But it's not because... And it's not because we're trying to be rigid or tell people, don't do that. We're saying that you can make that choice, but there's a steep consequence for that choice. And one of the things that, I think is really funny that Pastor Mike said a long time ago, which is, marrying someone because you have great sex is like buying a plane ticket because you want a bag of peanuts.
God, you said
remember that? And it's like, look, we get it. Like, that's a super important part of a relationship. It's critical.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of life you do beyond that. I mean, especially as you are having a family and you're growing kids and you're being an influence to them, it's not all honeymoon all the time. It's not all vacations and dinners out. There's hard work. You still gotta take out the trash. You gotta scrub the floor, walk the dogs. I mean, there's all sorts of things you gotta do. Clean the cars, do the carpets. There's really hard work to do. And if you're fortunate enough to have someone you can pay to do all that, great. But that doesn't mean the work isn't there. It means you have someone else doing it. So for those of us who don't have someone we can pay to do that, we end up doing all the work. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying this as a cautionary, hey, you may be totally in love with someone, you may be infatuated with them, you may have the most intimate, amazing physical relationship ever, but you're also going to have to do the regular work day in and day out, because that's just part of what life is it requires effort. That's not always beautiful, and sometimes sweaty is sexy.
That's actually true. Well, and
not real sweat.
No, not really. I mean, the
effort.
hard work. Yeah.
No, sweat's disgusting.
It's disgusting and it stinks. But
which is why I'm sitting right here.
Which feeds into, I think, the closing point of you have to work hard to like each other. And I mean in the sense of okay, you can just, people that they rub you wrong, they rub you wrong. I mean in the sense that when you find that someone and you think, okay, you say I do, we've worked so well dating, everything's hunky-dory, and then you get into marriage and you kind of have to fight to really like each other some days.
Oh, it takes work.
And some days he'll come home and we'll just kind of go through as roommates because we're tired. And especially after you throw kids into the mix, you're exhausted a lot of days. And so it has a lot to do with how you intentionally speak to each other. Yeah. And we have not always been good at that by any means.
And consider each other even before you speak.
Right.
Like, consider the situation, consider the context, consider the other person's feelings.
Consider
without
your tone.
letting yours be stomped on. Like,
right.
It's not like be a doormat. It's like have consideration and like respect for each other, because we've been bad at that, and we've also been very good at that. So context changes a lot of that. But I think where this is going to go, and it sounds like where this is going to go next, is we need to talk about, in the next video, we need to talk about how to prioritize the relationship before the kids. As you get to have kids.
Absolutely, yes. That's a huge
kids
one.
are super important, and they are part of your family. But without you, there is not them. And so we're going to talk a little about where we've won and where we've lost. Our relationship falling down that ladder, and the kids becoming more important, and being roommates. You said roommates, and kind of got me thinking about it. So I think we're going to talk about that the next time. But that's kind of a lot on dating, or at least our experience. And hopefully there's something that's in this for you that you take away and you go, oh, that's at least one good thing that I can take from myself, or maybe I can take into. Maybe you're in a marriage already and you didn't unpack stuff. Maybe this is the starting point of your conversation where you go, hey, you know what? We need to go talk to somebody and have a third party, a neutral person to kind of just open up some dialogues. We can move through these things together. And we've had to do that too. We're not sitting here talking to y'all like we figured this out in our house, like by ourselves. No, we've gone through a lot of support and a lot of help, not just from peer groups and all that, but also professional help too, figuring out how can we have conversations and dialogue that's useful, not hurtful, and is productive to move us to where we want to be as a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
So this represents a lot of work.
A lot of work. And like he was saying, we've not always been great at it. And in fact, most of the time we've sucked at it. So where I look at how we are able to bring our stumblings to the table and say, okay, well, now here's how you don't have to walk. Right. Counseling is probably one of the best things that we could have ever done for our marriage.
Best investment. Best financial investment.
It really is. And people say, well, my partner doesn't want to. Well,
go set it up and go.
Yourself.
If they don't show up, then that's the score.
Right.
I went, you didn't.
Well,
now that's what we're dealing with.
Right. And that helps you unpack it for yourself, because I know for me, it wasn't just marital counseling that I needed. It was individual counseling that I needed for the sake of I did things and still continue to do things habitually in order to protect myself. And I build walls in order to protect myself. And that has damaged or hindered us in a lot of ways, because I got it. And then it pushes him out.
It allows separation for the sake of being protected and trying to safeguard.
Yes. So even if your spouse or whatever, significant other is not wanting to go for yourself, because I guarantee you, if you start that healing process, it will inevitably bring good things into your relationship anyways, and shed light on things that maybe your significant other, your spouse, didn't see before or necessarily want to see. But when you purge, it's like cleaning the infection out of a wound. If you don't clean out the infection, but you still keep putting a Band-Aid on it, that infection is still there. And
might even get
true,
worse.
Right. That's true with any relationship as well, as if you don't clean out the junk before you try and lay on all of the ointment, it's not really going to do anything. So, I think that's where we'll leave it today, is realizing that there's hard work in learning who your spouse is, your dating relationship. What do you want? What you don't want? And then doing the hard work to actually make sure that you want the best for your significant other. You don't just want, well, I want a really great guy. I want him to be this, that, and the other, but I'm not really willing to be that girl for him that he deserves. I want the best, but I don't want to put the work and time and energy in to be the best for somebody. I want them to make me the best. That never works. And I know, we have daughters, and one of the things we speak into them often is, be the kind of woman that the kind of husband you're wishing for deserves. Yeah. And that means that you're not focusing on him. You're focusing on you and purging and healing and being the best that you can be, which automatically brings you into more joy and more fulfilling life anyways. And it honestly is funny, but it keeps you from seeking more from others and being more content with yourself. Yeah. So, I mean, it's about dating, but really it is finding a healthy version of you to bring into a friendship and a relationship with.
And the takeaway question that I want to leave this with is something, again, we've learned from Pastor Mike, which was, are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? It's the same thing that she just said about our daughters, is, are you being the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? Yeah. And if you're not, then that's the person you need to be working towards, taking the right steps and the effort to become that person that your ideal mate is hoping to find. Yes. Thank you guys for joining, and we will come back again with another video. Yeah. And that is it for today. Thank you guys. See you later. You want to make out now?
I don't.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about our kids and how they wrecked our life.
Yes.
I mean, how our relationship wrecked their life.
We've probably done a lot of damage to
how
our
everyone's
kids.
Wrecking everyone. Welcome to the cruise tornado, where everything just spins in circles and wrecks stuff up. We're going to go on a date. Bye.